Stakeholders in the Cross River State chapter of the All Progressives Congress are expressing concern that President Bola Tinubu has not taken any evident action to replace the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Betta Edu, in his cabinet after she was suspended for alleged financial corruption in the ministry. These stakeholders are also making the point that Senator John Eno, who is from the state, represents the entire South-South geopolitical zone in the president's cabinet. To have a closer look, we're now being joined by Cletus Obun, a former member of APC's Presidential Campaign Council's media team. He'll share his thoughts on the scrapping of the Niger Delta Ministry as well. Good afternoon. Many thanks for joining us, Honorable.
Thanks for having me on this hot seat this afternoon.
We'll try not to keep it that hot, but the removal of Betta Edu and the current cabinet composition have definitely raised significant questions about South-South representation. Now, how do you analyze the political calculus behind John Eno's appointment in terms of what it reveals about power dynamics within the APC?
Well, let me first of all comment on the immediate problem of the South-South and of Cross River in particular. The case of Cross River State is a case of a rejected cornerstone. The reason is that as I will speak today, until the elections in Edo State, where even the governor of Cross River State chaired the processes that produced him and even held a meeting of the South-South in Calabar to ensure that we produced a second brother in Edo State, Cross River was the only state in the South-South that had a governor of APC extraction. And to now discover that that was the reason why we got the second slot, that was one of the reasons we got the second slot for the region, that is the South-South zone. The mandatory one minister per state was there, and the zone ought to have another minister, which gave us the second minister. Today, we don't have a substantive minister, even though the constitution is clear that there is nothing like Minister of State. Even if it assumed that it have, Cross River State is undeserving, having brought to the center through Governor Ayade, who came in 2021, to give us a foothold in the South-South, all South-South. Even a door that we had by 2020, we lost it. We were all blank until Ayade came to the rescue and now replaced by Prince Otu, who sat there and midwifed 3 elections and won all, which was first Imo State, the second one was here. So giving us just one minister of state at this point is the highest form of disencouragement. It dispossesses us of every enthusiasm of belonging to the center, which is a purpose for which we Cross Riverians are calling on Mr. President, who has always listened to our cry for a replacement of the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. Even if it is not Humanitarian Affairs anymore, you are now even making it more difficult for Cross Riverians to believe that this government and APC as a party believes in the input of those who contributed into making the presidency. Because in the last elections, if you remember, out of 25 members of the House of Assembly, we lost only 5 seats. The other 20 belong to APC. Today, we have 24 members, because the other 4 even returned to APC. The second point was that the 3 senators, we got 2 out of the 3 senators. And after the federal house, we lost only 1. We lost 2, which was the Obaliko Obudu and the Calabar Municipality Odupani. The rest were all, that is, we got 6 out of 8, 2 out of 3 senators, and now 24 members out of 25 in the House of Assembly, plus a governor. Is that the reward you will give to us, that we have nothing more to prove? I think that Cross River can do better, and this president owe a duty on the basis of equity and the basis of reward system to ensure that Cross River State gets a substantive minister and a replacement for the one that was taken out for whatever reasons best known to the president. As far as we are concerned in Cross River State, we think that we deserve better and we should be compensated for bringing APC to South-South region of the state and South-South zone, so that at the end of the day, 2077 is looking at us in the face. We have enough competent hands, we have shown tenacity and faith and loyalty, and we have shown commitment through our governor, Prince Otu, who has ensured that the South-South and indeed the governorship of Cross River State remains very relevant to the issues at stake. So we believe that the president can do better and can look at our way and give us our just reward, because it is not only spiritually wrong, but it is also socially and politically injurious to those who contribute so much and get so little in return. That, for me, is our stake, and that is our cry to the president today. And we believe that he who has always listened to us when we were almost shortchanged in Niger Delta, today restored that to us. We were almost shortchanged again in the case of governing councils. He has restored that to us. We believe that these two, he will listen to us. Having scrapped the Ministry of Sports, which is in his own capacity and powers to do, but I think there are more positions to give to Cross River State to show that we indeed are the pathfinders of APC to the South-South zone of Nigeria.
Indeed, Mr. Obun, and thanks for enlightening us on the historical significance and, of course, the narratives behind selection from people from River State, across River State. So, but realistically, Betta Edu's conduct while in office and, of course, the eventual removal after investigations, do you think it's creating a lack of enthusiasm to appoint people from her region, despite recourse to the federal character principle of selecting qualified office holders? What are your thoughts there?
On the contrary, her conduct was not the collective decision of South-South people not to talk about Cross River State. It is not in the character of Cross Riverians to be, look at the quality of people who have contributed to Nigeria. Cross River sits as a pivotal agency for the unity of Nigeria. Cross River State should be pampered and treated as the egg upon which Nigeria was laid. If you remember that the war started in Gakem, in present-day Bekwara, which was then Ogoja province. That was where the war started. And the people of Ogoja wrote in unison to bring out the one Nigeria mantra and ensure that the war was fought and won from that axis. If you look at the history of Calabar as well, when the Oba of Benin, Oba Vorewen Obaisi, was exiled by the British in the 18th century, he was taken to Calabar. Calabar was the first capital of Nigeria. Indeed, most of what you know as modern-day Nigeria began its activity and civilization. Indeed, if you remember, football was first played in Calabar in Hope Water Training Institute, where people like the great Zeke schooled. And we have all this to show why Cross River State should be treated specially and given a special place. There should be a war museum in Gakem, in Bekwara local government, in Ogoja province. We should have a state today in commemoration of that effort. Today, as little as appointment, when Zeke went to go and read my Odyssey by Zeke, when he arrived at his school in the US, the person who taught him political science was from Calabar. His lecturer, when he's towed away in that ship to the US, his first lecturer was a Calabar person. So we cannot but fathom why you will talk about quality, integrity, and in terms of substance that we lack anybody of quality from Cross River State. Whether it is Calabar or Ogoja, whether you are talking about I.I. Murphy, whether you are talking about the youngest minister, Chivem Timbo, all you got was from that area of the state. And when we were demanding the core state, Calabar, Ogoja rivers, among the minorities of the eastern region at the time, these were the leaders, Okoya Rico and the rest of them, Chivem Timbo and the rest of them, I.I. Murphy. They were all there. Professor Yoita, all these people became professors in Nigeria, when to get even a PhD was a problem in Nigeria, in the entire of Nigeria. So I imagine that if it is quality, Cross River State has enough to replace Betta Edu if she was found at all, because we never got the report about what happened to her. But the president's discretion and judgment cannot be faulted, because it is his constitutional right to appoint and hire and fire whoever he wants to serve with him. So we cannot question him on that. But to say that there's no replacement or that there's trust deficiency and the quotient of trust and confidence and integrity is lacking. Each time Nigeria is in need of men of quality and integrity, they have always resorted to Cross River State. And I can give you a plethora of persons who have done that and who have kept Nigeria one and strong in and outside the country.
Of course, your point is noted. Now, there is a school of thought regarding, not just Cross River specifically, but based on this perceived marginalization which you've highlighted, it's indicative of a deeper systemic issue in Nigeria's political representation model. I'm wondering how you might evaluate the current administration's commitment to genuine regional inclusivity beyond tokenistic representations.
Yes. Again, elsewhere, I have made the point that this president has a duty to ensure that the principle of federal character, he did that very well when he appointed the service chiefs. Out of 7 of them that he first appointed, about 5 were Christians, against the thinking that there was going to be a Muslim thing. So our polity is hinged upon the tripod of ethnicity, religion, and equity. So on the basis of religion, ethnicity, and gender sensitivity, and youth inclusivity, you can imagine that the president has done everything to do that. But as we speak today, there is a shortage. There's a huge shortage and a huge gap about the reward system for those who actually did the job, who are doing the job, and who have capacity to do the job, but who are still outside the system. We don't expect him. He's not God. The president is not God. So he may have his issues. That is why even the issue of bringing some people who can add quality, but who are not part of those who made his presidency possible, I do not quarrel with that. I do not want to subscribe to the fact that all that we have to do is politics and more politics. But that in spite of that, there is quality even among those who are in partisan politics. There is quality in that group. So he should not give us the impression that quality and qualifications are resident in a particular ethnic group or religion. That should never be the impression created. And that is why our constitution is very clear that there must be representation, and no section of this country and nobody in this country should be made not to benefit from the huge qualities of this country on account of his religion, his gender, or his tribe. The constitution is clear on that. So if that is so, is there any corner of this country in which you cannot find a person to fit to be central bank governor? Is there any person that cannot be chief of army staff? Is there any person that cannot be inspector general of police? Is there any section that cannot? We have all this. And even where they don't exist, they are created. It is a prerogative and indeed within the purview of the president to use his constitutional right to balance these situations out. It is allowed for in the constitution. His cap price must be governed by the constitution and the democracy that we practice. And I have worked with him closely. I have worked with this president closely. He is a stickler for quality. And we cannot, in fact, fault most of the people that he has brought to power, except for some ministers who came in here to fill the gap. Even from their villages, there are people better than them. I know ministers who are sitting in office who ought not to be there today. He has done the first sweep. We expect him to do the second because he doesn't like the courage to do so. So I feel that strongly, all sections and segments of the country, especially those who worked for him and who are still working for him even without holding portfolios, should be rewarded. People are working for him, who worked for him and are still working for him and ready to die for him, who have the quality but have not been brought into position. And because of that, we are seeing some huge gaps, especially in the area of economy, in the area of information dissemination and management.
Very good. On that note, Mr. Cletus Obun, former member, ABC Presidential Campaign Council Media Team, would like to thank you for your thoughts.